I do have a proposition for you.
Uh-oh.
If I kill a really big alligator and I have someone that's willing to cook that alligator, can we have a party here? A networking party where we eat the alligator?
I'm always down for that.
Okay.
Absolutely. Like, where are you going alligator hunting? Like, did you just come up with this idea?
Somewhere in Louisiana next week.
Somewhere in Louisiana.
Welcome back to another episode of Cold Ones with Cold Bore. I've got two special guests on the show today. A lot of people know them already because they're well versed in the industry. But we've got Marc and Madison. You want to introduce yourself, Marc?
Mark LaRue with Social Octane.
Madison Lemberg with Social Octane.
Eminem.
The M&Ms, yeah.
Yep.
No, it's exciting. So, we're going to just kind of jump right on in. I like to do, this is very much a networking human style podcast, which is why obviously we have some cold ones to enjoy. We're doing this right before poker tonight.
Yes, we are. Are we all playing?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta win some money again.
I need to win his money.
Yeah, exactly.
And yours.
I gotta keep it under control.
I don't think either of
calm.
you kept up, actually.
No, I've lost the first table.
Actually, I won last time.
Did you?
Yeah, I actually won.
Wow.
That's because
Okay.
I took Xavier's money. I've said that now twice today.
That's good.
So
That's good.
when he sees this, he's gonna.
Has he ever won?
Yeah.
Has Smithwick ever won?
No, Smithwick donates.
Yeah, he donates.
Yeah,
I
he
can tell.
donates.
He's like,
Yeah.
screw it, I'm gonna go.
So, to set the table, everybody. So we've been doing the poker game now for over a year, and then it was probably in January-ish, February that we all talked and we're like, man, y'all be a part of this?
Yeah, probably.
You know what?
Well, I
it was
think
the
before
Gatsby.
that, yeah,
The Gatsby
Yes.
get together that we did here.
I think
the
it was after
November
that.
prior.
We're like, hey, let's go into 2024, and let's try some poker nights.
Yeah.
So,
No, it's been great, because we were doing it kind of flying solo. And then y'all jumped on board. We got Justin Overstreet, Wildcat, and Fletcher. It's been a really, really neat deal having kind of everybody kind of jump in and kind of utilizing everybody's network and broadening our horizons a little bit.
Yep. And then we did the Crawfish, which was amazing.
That was my favorite.
Yeah.
Yes, that was my favorite. It was an amazing day.
So I definitely want to talk about all that. Let's kind of set the table a little bit. So y'all are with Social Octane. A lot of people know who y'all are. Y'all definitely active in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
So give us a little quick rundown on how Social Octane came to be and how long has it been around?
Woo.
You want to take that one, or
Yeah.
okay?
Put you on the spot.
Well, honestly, I'm going to skip forward to all the really unsure years and just go to 2019 where we made this our full-time job. And Social Octane, we had a digital marketing company called OC Media, and Social Octane previously was called Oil Connect. So in 2019, we had launched both of those. We'd also launched a clothing company, and all three of those kind of just all jive together. And going into 2020, we had a full year of events. We just finished off an entire tailgate season with the Broncos, and we had quite a few marketing client customers. Obviously, going into 2020, that really shifted everything, and we weren't sure what to do. So what we did from there, we actually toured the country, went to different oil field basins, and then ended up in Midland, Texas in October of 2020. That was a pivotal point.
All roads lead to Midland.
All roads lead to Midland, yeah.
We were just talking about this yesterday. It's like we were probably the only people in the world traveling around through COVID hosting events. Like just think about
Think about
like,
it.
is there another Marc and Madison out there that's done? I just was. It's so mind boggling that we were doing that.
So they would basically just say, y'all hosted a super spreader event,
Yeah.
and then you skip town immediately following.
I had a T-shirt that says "Super Spreader of Good Times."
Yeah,
getting back to work.
No, that's fantastic because so that was, obviously a lot of stuff changed during COVID for our industry, how we approach stuff. What I thought the funniest thing was immediately following when everybody was kind of released back into the wild, where like you could kind of like hang out with people again.
Yeah.
For those of us who supposedly follow the rules.
Not us.
Yeah.
Not Texas.
The Doug conference in Fort Worth, like immediately following COVID, it was like the first big conference, like right out the gate.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking with Bella about this earlier. It was absolute insanity. Like it was like people had been locked up for like years.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
I think we went to that one. That was the
We had to have.
2021.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, 2021. Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's when we, kind of following up with her, kind of leading up to where we got to Texas. We ended up in West Texas and did a big event there, and we're like, man, there was like 500 people come out.
One would say it was an energy rally.
It was yeah. Trump was running, so but it ended up really just a big success for us. Just not really, being in Texas and having that much support come out, which kind of led us to the Woodlands and Houston area and the launch of Social Octane. So that's kind of the birth of that kind of silver lining of COVID pushed us, to pivot and get down here. And then once we got to Houston, I think it was ready for kind of the Social Octane.
Yeah. No, and because y'all put on a bunch of events, obviously the golf games are well known.
Mm-hmm.
I got to attend the Houston one, didn't get to play, a little shoulder issue. So I rode around in a golf cart.
Got to shoot people
Well,
for a cause.
with a tennis ball gun. Let's be
Yeah.
not just going around shooting random people.
To shoot people.
just Brian. Okay.
And it was just Brian.
We should have gave you a paintball pistol and just went and shot people.
Yeah, that would have. Yeah, I don't think my golf cart would have gone fast enough to get away from some of those people, or the barrage of golf balls. But the golf games are always a great time. You'll do those in multiple basins. Obviously Houston, Midland, Denver, and then y'all did one in the Northeast too, right?
Pittsburgh, Calgary, Oklahoma.
Oh, I forgot about that.
We've done a poker tournament in New Orleans, and then we've actually gone to Wyoming, Gillette, Wyoming, a couple years in a row.
Yep.
But yeah, we've navigated into the current basins that we're in right now.
Cool. And then I definitely want to talk so the big event coming up that y'all are planning for already is Gatsby. So definitely want to plug Gatsby while we're in talking about this. Okay, that's another good one. How did that come about?
Oh.
Like, what was the idea that said, okay, let's have a Gatsby themed Christmas party?
Yeah, I think when we were in Denver has a oil gas oil field expo party. So they've done just a fantastic job there. We've loved just that energy and having that oil and gas Christmas party. But I really liked just kind of more of a theme-based one. And so originally it was kind of like that Peaky Blinders kind of style 1920s. That was the kind of the thought process. But when we were talking with OGGN at the time with Mark LaCour, and we met Warren Spiewak, and he's like, man, I have a place. I think this is perfect. So he connected us. We drove to the Storian. As soon as we walked into the Storian, it was like Gatsby, like boom. Like we knew. Even walking out of there, we're like, oh, Gatsby, oil and gas, Gatsby, oil and Gatsby, like boom. And that's how it just it happened so quickly. We met with OGGN probably in, I would say, September, and by October the thing was fully flying.
Yeah,
it was really short, and it happened so quickly, and that's just kind of how it went. Then we had the runway show, which was another kind of spontaneous rattle of everybody kind of coming together and bouncing off each other. And that one was just a huge success, just on all these kind of different new ideas, right? So
yep. No, and the Gatsby event, it's always fun. Get to dress up a little bit.
Have you been every single year?
No, I think I've only been to
so.
2. This will be the 3rd one coming up this year.
Fourth one.
So y'all's 4th, but my 3rd.
Gotcha. Okay. Never mind.
Do your math.
So I think I missed the very first one. But yeah, so I've been to all the others. And so it's great to see how that kind of just continues to evolve and grow, and just a lot of energy there.
Yeah. No, it's been fantastic. It's a hard one to pull together. It's very expensive to host, and it's a lot of moving parts, but it always seems to come together, and we always get some great sponsors and well attended. So this year we got a change up happening now. We were going to do the runway show. We wanted something a little different. So I grew up, I boxed growing up. So that was kind of my background. So I always loved the fight game. And there's something about having, being at a fight and watching, bouts and being able to bet on that stuff, even if you're just like a UFC with a crew of at your house. It's always fun to bet. So we thought, what if we brought that there, and we can raise money for nonprofits there. So that's what we just basically rolled out today.
I thought he was crazy. Well, he came up and told me this, and I'm like, sounds ridiculous. But then he really broke it down for me. He's
Well, it's like
okay.
when I get excited about something, because it's just that old school fight, like where it used to be a high end thing. People would go watch the fights. So kind of bringing that back where it's the vintage, leather boxing gloves, the leather headgear, the old bell and the mic coming down. So that'll be our stage that we can, kind of promote and announce all this stuff. I'm sure it'll turn into a dance floor after at the end. But yeah, just that look of that 1920s kind of feel, with these some industry folks kind of getting in there and putting the Dukes up for some charity. I think it'll be fantastic.
It makes a lot more sense now. But I will say
it's going to be interesting because that's you don't really go to a lot of fights unless you go to Vegas or one of the top venues where people are that dressed up, right?
Yeah,
and it's going to have that old school feel. You need to find a guy that's got that accent to do the announcing, like, hey, here we go, everybody.
I know that's true. I was thinking about that today. I was writing down, okay, what do we need? We need fighters. We need ring people in the corner. We need some judges. We need some ring girls or ring guys. Who knows? Maybe we'll dress up Brian Cook as a ring guy.
He's a good guinea pig, or he's whatever
guinea pig.
Whatever you call
but
it.
then I was thinking, we do need that old school voice. That's from that era.
Maybe it's an AI thing that you just have maybe there's some type of a voice translator
I
or
think
something.
we learned last year, let's not AI anyone's voice.
Because you got to have that, right? Like,
yeah.
That'd be fantastic. But I'm looking forward to that. And so that leads us into, we talked briefly, you brought it up, but the stuff we do kind of together, we're friends. We've got to know each other quite well over the years. And it just kind of came naturally to have that conversation, be like, hey, what can we do together? Like, we've got this space and what makes sense for y'all and us. And so we, y'all jumped in with the poker game. That's been great. And then the Crawfish Boil is my favorite event that we've
Amazing.
done. This was our, I guess, official third Crawfish Boil. And I'm ready for it for next year.
I remember the first one.
Yeah, the first
we were
one,
there.
we were basically, in Louisiana, basically
Pasadena,
at the old
let's
house.
go.
Yeah. Terrible location.
But great house.
Beautiful house.
Yeah, beautiful house, but terrible location.
Yeah.
And now we got something a lot more centrally located.
I remember sitting there peeling crawfish like all night.
Oh, God.
It was so much fun, right?
Terrible.
But we
Yeah.
were like, we're not leaving all this crawfish. It's going to get peeled and put in.
We had
something else
fun
later.
with what we had there, and
Yeah.
everybody had a good time. But it is location. I mean,
Yeah.
moving to this area, it's been a huge success for you guys, and I'm glad you guys kept it going, and the house is just vibrant. So, and the poker, but the crawfish, that one this year was just, we knocked it out of the park.
Oh, it was hands down the best one we've ever had. And this is the cool part too, is so at all your events, y'all have a donation wing where you sponsor a charity or invite a charity or multiple charities sometimes. So Crawfish, we had, Brian Cook and Next Gen, which was awesome. Everybody, we did, it was Kentucky Derby weekend. So, and May 4th, May the 4th be with you.
Yeah.
So a little Kentucky Derby, Star Wars kind of merged together, which was interesting. But we wound up raising $5,000 for Next Gen.
In a short amount of time. It was pretty crazy.
In a short amount of time. And
It really got people going on the horse races. I mean, everyone's screaming at the TV. And it was really cool.
everybody piled in the living room yelling at the TV. And then, just that everybody donated back the money. And the kind of funny thing is, like, I won. And I was like, there's no way I'm taking that money.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it was a 50-50, right?
Yeah, it was a 50-50.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, $2,500 was going to go to Next Gen at a minimum.
Yeah.
That's if we sold out all the squares. Yeah. And that was when, guinea pig Brian, I volunteered Brian to jump in the pool belly flop if we, sold them out. Then I think Xavier may have bought 10 squares if I did the belly flop. And that's how that whole thing kind of came about.
He said, I got the remaining, whatever is left. Yeah.
And but it was really cool to see, 5,000 in a short period of time with, I think we had 200 unique visitors, but really like 150, 120
at a time.
It was a good flow. It was a good flow everywhere. Was everybody was it seemed like every room had people in it, and it was not too overpacked or too under, didn't look empty.
So that's a staple. The crawfish, the derby.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I
poker. Anything new?
Well, we'll find something new, I'm sure. We got to keep the crawfish going. Every year you learn some lessons. Yeah. And like the day before, I think we got fortunate with the weather first off.
Yeah.
Got to rent that margarita machine a little bit earlier this year. But we've got the hookup now.
No, that was a hit.
And
that was huge. That was great.
And then coolers. Because I was cruising around borrowing coolers from people.
Yeah, coolers.
Here's the thing. They're both easy things to make up for later. We're good.
But when you don't have them, they're stressful.
Oh, yeah. So it was a stress, for a couple of days. But they went off without a hitch. And, the only downside is the cleanup.
Yeah.
Which is always
the worst.
The worst. But so so you've got, I mentioned the charity. Obviously, next gen, y'all are big with Red M as well. That's near and dear to both y'all's hearts.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, the whole mission, we wanted to incorporate, if we're going to build this, how do we give back as well? But it's hard to throw an event and then say that you're going to fundraise as well, because it's just that's an effort that's very hard to do. So what we found, we're really good at just creating the hype, getting the FOMO going, and then creating a really cool experience in the space for the nonprofits to have that real estate. To say, hey, this is what we got. Or it's got a good group of people coming, and so how do we get creative with you guys in leading up to it? There's a lot of moments that we can. How do we use our network to tell your guys' story, and then raise some funds with you, and then it's all it's really worked over the years.
It's really been really cool because we've worked with about 17 nonprofits a year. We try to do local nonprofits when we travel around. But I would definitely say, as we're Houston-based, Next Gen and Red M are our Houston-based kind of core nonprofits that we work closely with. And it's been really cool to see how their mindset has shifted. It's very stressful, especially volunteer-based events. And sometimes you can lose money, and sometimes there's a lot behind it, getting the sponsorships, and you're promising someone something. So when they see this concept of someone else is taking that risk off of us, and we're taking on that risk, and we're going to create the atmosphere and bring the people there, the world's your oyster, and you can fundraise how you see fit.
Everybody wins, right? They might not, say if they took it on themselves and they knocked it out of the park, they could probably raise a lot more money, but that's a risk they take, right? So we're just trying to be as consistent as possible, and so that we get in a rhythm every year. Same nonprofit people, and it's one thing to raise money and to give back money, but I think where we find that we can help more is just bringing that awareness and opening our network up to them so that they can, just funnels more people and more money in the end.
Yeah.
We have fun things in the future coming about, and basically it'll really help nonprofits and people hosting events to support them so that, all the organizations in one spot, and the promotion and the marketing. So sweet.
No, that's exciting. Cause I mean, obviously oil and gas is very much a giving industry. You look at, how many different charities that, are part of golf tournaments and stuff like that. Right. So I love that y'all have kind of like focused on two that, are great organization. I love especially the Next Gen guys, what they're doing, helping, kind of the youth and steering them into oil and gas, into an industry that, sometimes loses its appeal.
Yeah. I mean, and not even oil and gas, just the trades world, right? I think a healthy trades for a country is a very healthy country, right? So if we lose that, it's hard to get back. And I think it's been kind of demonized a bit, or, these kids coming out of high school, they don't understand it. They don't understand they can make, a career out of it. And it's just that they're really great industries. The people are great. I mean, it's just, let me just look at the oil and gas. I mean, in my opinion, it's the best industry I've come across. And once you're in, this is a huge family. So,
Okay. So Mark,
let me grab me a little opener there, buddy.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, he's just been sitting there with
Popper
no
guy.
opener.
I know. I was
He's been
sitting there. I was
staring
looking at it.
at
I've seen how long it can last.
I'll take a moment to take my cold brew.
So you're one of these crazy Canadians.
Mhm.
Seems like I didn't know a ton of Canadians until I started working for Colbor, and then everybody I meet in the industry, they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm from Calgary or wherever." So how long have you been in the States?
So I got here in officially 2006.
Oh, okay.
So
So yeah.
Yeah, so I come down on a project with a company called Expro I used to work for. And the project was called Escape Completion. So in 2005 and then 2006 officially moved to Oklahoma City.
Oh, very cool. Tonight we've got poker, obviously. That's a monthly deal. Really excited for that. Next month, we've got, I think, Halloween poker.
Yeah.
We've got to hone in on the date.
Yep.
On that. So we don't know the exact time and date. Well, we know time, but we don't know the date. So you can wear your best costume. And then I think in November, Gatsby themed poker.
Yes.
Yeah, we can shoot for that. We did that, I guess, last year in October, but yeah, just being so close to Halloween, we might as well do it a Halloween theme.
Yep.
And then do the Gatsby, and then the official Gatsby, the December 13th, that close the year out.
Yeah, is that Friday the 13th?
It is Friday.
the 13th.
Okay, so this is what happened.
I don't
I'm
box on Friday the 13th, just so you know.
Yeah.
It's a hard and fast rule that I've implemented.
Well, so I'm sitting there and I'm talking to one of the owners of the Astorian, and she goes, "I'm like, it's Friday the 13th. Like, is this a bad omen?" And she goes, "I got married on Friday the 13th. I'm still married.
Oh.
It's a good omen."
Yeah.
Man, they're coming up on their 1 year anniversary?
No, they've been together a long time, I think.
Well, I think because the Thanksgiving was basically on the first of the month or first of December or that weekend. So
Yeah.
we couldn't really do that. So yeah, we had to push it. And
It's a very desired and well sought after date. I'll tell you that. So, but really what I think is good about that date is a lot of companies need, they need to put together their own Christmas party, whether you have a very large group of people or a smaller team. And basically we can take on that entire cost and put together an amazing event for your people. You can still go out to dinner before and then come to the event afterwards, but it can be your company Christmas party, basically.
Yep.
It's close
No,
enough.
and that's a great way to look at it, especially, or even just to take, some customers to, or,
Yeah.
or whatever, right? Hey, let's do something a little bit different. Let's just go to that.
Yeah.
Because December, and y'all, because this is now going on year 4, it fills up quickly with Christmas parties.
It does. Yeah.
Like,
So you got to
turn
get
around
out there
and say,
early.
holy crap. Yeah, you got to put your date out early and make sure it's done.
Yeah.
So, okay, Mark, you've been here since 2006. Madison, you are not Canadian.
I've been here since I was born.
Yeah, you're just an old American.
I got into oil and gas at 20, and
So at 20, how'd you get into oil and gas? What were you doing?
I was still in college. I got approached by someone that owned a regulatory company, which was really random, but I wasn't done with college. And I'm like, well, you guys want someone full time. I have 6 more months. They were like, how about you just still come interview? And so I did. And they opened up a part-time position for me. And that opened the doors to everything that I know oil and gas. So that's where I met Mark, because I was on a certain floor. It was a satellite floor in the EOG building, downtown Denver. And that led me into pipeline sales with Mammoth Carbon, and then went over to a midstream startup company, Curative Midstream. That was an amazing part of my life because I really got to see the full cycle of how everything works together. When you know your niche, you know it, but you don't fully see how everything goes together necessarily. So went from there, went back into sales, went over to construction and fabrication and pipeline. That one didn't work out, but thankfully for me, it actually worked out really well because that led me into starting a business with Mark, and that's what led us here today.
Well, very cool.
Yep.
So y'all have lived in a lot more exotic places than I.
Denver.
Yeah. I mean, I was in
Saskatchewan.
Well, grew up in Conroe, then moved to Corpus, then San Antonio, then back to Houston. So,
So you haven't made it too far.
No, I almost wound up in the Midland, Midland Mafia for a minute.
Yeah.
And then they're like, no, we just want you to stay in San Antonio. I was like, all right.
So how long have you been in oil and gas?
Since 2010.
Cool.
So I didn't get in until I was older. I think I was like 28 when I decided to make the turn. Just because I was in commercial real estate, and I was an appraiser. And one day I was like, this is not for me. Like I was like, I'm bored. Some people love it. They like that. Just kind of like, okay, I know I'll look at a different property. I'm going to write the same report, blah, blah, blah. I was absolutely bored. And it was also in 2008, the market was terrible.
Yeah.
That also led to boredom.
Well, that's the best thing about this industry too. It's an endless amount of learning.
When I jumped into oil and gas, that first time waking up at like 2:30 in the morning to drive to site, I was like, okay, what did I get myself into? But then it's the people, right?
Mm-hmm.
You meet so many great people.
When you're
Talk about
talking
yourselves.
about people, so we did an interview at one of our golf tournaments. I want to say it was Oklahoma. And we went around and asked as many people as we could, what do you like most about oil and gas? And each person kept on coming back to, it's like a family. It's the people. It's like a family. It's the people.
It's Midland.
Midland.
Yep.
Okay, there you go. Well, definitely a family, definitely about the people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it was cool.
Yeah, probably 100% of people of the interviews
Yeah.
said to people.
Well, you meet all kinds of, from all walks of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can meet people with a PhD. You can meet people that have a GED.
Yeah.
And that person with a GED probably knows more than sometimes what the PhD might know.
Well, and another thing too is you can start, just my journey, like start on the bottom and, work your way up as long as you got a decent head on your shoulders and a good work ethic and some integrity. So I just, it's an incredible industry to get into that really doesn't have a ceiling, or it doesn't need a paper like other industries. I mean, it does to a certain extent, but there is a lot of opportunity without it.
Yeah.
Without a paper.
And it's like you mentioned, the work ethic. There's really no, when you meet some of these people, that's what drives and that's what gets you the respect. Because if you're willing to work hard, then you get good mentors.
Mm-hmm.
They bring you up and they help you learn different things. And so, because some of these guys, when they get in, may not even completed high school at the time.
Yeah.
And got in, took an opportunity to better themselves and their family, and they push forward.
Yeah. Well, that's what drew me to Next Gen, is just the story. Meeting Brian for the first time and really learning about what they're about. I'm like, man, if I would have had that in high school, not only I would have went right to work. I mean, I did go right to work, but I was kind of kicking and screaming. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. But just having that direction or that knowledge, and then once you start making money, like I blew through so much money and just didn't know how to manage it. So having that direction, I think, is very important to get these kids started very early and starting investing into their future, because it's ups and downs. So.
Well, I've met a couple of their kids that they mentor and everything else, and there was one, I think he's already got 2 companies, and he's in trade school right now, and then he's going to go offshore, and he's basically going to allow somebody to run the 2 companies that he currently has. I'm like, you're 16 years old, man. That is some incredible work ethic. And, he's getting some helpful guidance from some other people to ensure that he manages that properly, because a lot, like you mentioned, there's a reason that the NBA and other, sports leagues have like rookie school. Mm-hmm. They're like, hey, we're about to give you a lot of money.
Yeah.
Don't be dumb. Manage it properly, right? And that's something that, I don't know that a lot of high schools actually implement that level of understanding. No,
they don't. And another thing they don't do and they should do is just more hands-on approach, right? Where maybe half the year you're actually doing some more intern stuff or traveling. I think that's just important stuff, just to open your mind up and figure out quickly who you are and what makes you tick, so that you might think what you are, but until you get into the real world, it starts, the pressure cooker of life starts pushing the stuff out that you find who yourself is. So.
Yeah.
I love what Next Gen does, because they have that mentorship portion to it. It's not just let me give you a scholarship, let me connect you with the right job, let me go talk to your school and tell you about what you can do. They have this whole mentorship program that they take those kids and they show them the financial way to do this the right way, and to keep your job and keep that work ethic going.
I mean, I honestly didn't know what I wanted to do till I was 28. I got no other guys. Like I thought I did.
Well, I think probably till you're like 24, where your brain's like is fully developed. Mm-hmm. So like there's a lot of stuff going on there that you're for me, getting into the industry at 18, kind of forced into it, but I didn't know what to do. So, but it kept me busy. I wasn't idle, and I went right to work. So that was a good thing.
Well, you actually say this, work ethic is a language, because you could sit on, say, a well site with someone and not have it. No one speaks the same language, but if you all have work ethic, they all know kind of who you are.
Yep. No, it's very true. I mean, even when I got to the U.S. and the Barnett Shale was kicking off there, most of the crews were fully Hispanic, and they didn't speak English, but we could communicate.
Yeah.
And they were, getting after it. And I was super impressed, to a point where I was like, if I see a white crew out there, we're in trouble, because they were, you go to Arkansas and it was, they just weren't working like the Hispanic crew was, and at that speed. So, it was
and a lot of it though is, they self-police themselves as far as, like guys in the field, if you're not pulling your weight, you're probably not going to stay on that crew.
Yeah.
And that's how you get run off of a crew really quickly.
And really, that should be in life too. The more effort you put in, you should move your way up. It shouldn't be so political and he said, she said, that kind of stuff.
Kind of how life works.
It is, but a lot of industries aren't like this. There's a very, there's a truth about the oil and gas industry that, that flushes a lot of stuff out, just through the grit and perseverance and the grind. I mean, it's a lot of sacrifice, and the gritty ones really rise up.
Yeah, and the perception of oil and gas is evolving in a positive manner, whereas before it was, I've often joked that I think a lot of people thought we were like the character off The Simpsons, like the cowboy, like the drunk cowboy that always shoots the 6-shooters off, and it's like, woohoo, it's a drunk Texan. That's how people viewed oil and gas, like very like opulent, very, overspend, everything that goes with that. And it's rough. And we're doing a great job, whether it's podcasting, whether it's, marketing efforts, or just being out involved in the community where people are going.
So everybody's stepping up and really taking some, a stance with it and just using their voice, right? And using their talents.
I swear when I accepted the job to get into oil and gas, like my older sister, I legitimately believe that she thought it was like a scene from Joe Dirt and was like, I can't believe you're going to go out there. Really? And I was like, yeah, what's wrong with it? Like, I mean, it's not that bad. These are like billion-dollar companies. They don't put up with the nonsense on location.
Yeah.
And she's like, I hope you know what you're doing. I was like, get out of here, like whatever. And I think for several years, they thought that it was like, that I was going to grow up and get a real job.
Yeah.
Right.
Because like my dad was an airline pilot, my mom was a teacher, my sister's an attorney. And I think they were like, okay, he'll get out of this.
He'll figure it out.
Like this phase he's in.
But like going back to the Texas thing, I mean, I think there's a big perception on there that's not right either. Like coming from Canada, working with some people from Montreal, or even in Alberta, Saskatchewan, they think it's just like there's just a lot of bad perceptions of Texas. It's like racist. It's too cowboy, or I mean, whatever it may be. But once they get here, what I was shocked with is just the people. The people are unbelievable. Like it doesn't matter where you go. If you're in San Antonio, you're in Dallas, you're East Texas, West Texas, here in Houston, there's a common thread through the fabric of Texans that is just very welcoming.
Yeah.
I think it's humbleness. Texans are very humble. They're very kind. Obviously, anywhere you'll get any type of walk of earth, but just a beautiful melting pot full of people and really good food. So I'm appreciative of that.
And it's funny you mentioned the Texas stereotypes, because I had family in Mississippi. When I'd go visit and meet, friends and cousins or whatever, they would be like, "So you ride a horse to school?" And I was like, okay, hold on. You live in Mississippi and you're trying to make fun of me?
Yeah.
Like, let's pull that back a little bit. Come on now. Not everybody rides a horse. Not everybody owns a horse. Yeah.
But if you're in the woodlands, there's horses everywhere.
Oh.
That is true. I mean,
that weirded me out when I got there. I was like, what is this?
Oh, man, go a little bit further. You're getting to Montgomery. Like, you'll see them riding down the side of the road.
So there are, right? Everybody's riding horses.
Yeah. There's some areas,
yeah.
Like, me and horses don't really do well. Like I'm more on the horsepower side than the actual like single horse.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've tried to ride. My wife rides and just me like the horse just wants to do what it does. I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, just give me a beer and I'll just sit here at the sit on top of him.
Horse rider with a beer.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So.
Yeah, Texas has been great. You know what I'm excited for is the movie, the series Landman to come out. It's being shot in Midland. They could totally botch it, or it might be amazing, but it's all about oil and gas.
That was it Tyler Sheridan?
Mm-hmm.
Is that his name?
Yellowstone.
Taylor Sheridan? Taylor.
Taylor.
Something. I don't know. Whatever his name is. He owns a 4-6 ranch or whatever. I think that he will try to do a good job in it. I also know that we are the big bad industry in the eyes of like Hollywood and others. So I don't know that it's going to be exactly how we all kind of imagine it to be.
Yeah, we'll see.
A little bit dramatic, capture every. Yeah.
I've got some, hesitation to be all excited about it till I see if it's over the top ridiculous.
Yeah. Either way, it's shot in Midland, West Texas, or I don't know if it's all shot there, but it's based around that oil boom, the latest oil boom. So.
Let's be real. If you live in Yellowstone and you watch Yellowstone, you'd be like, "What the fuck is this?"
I've heard so.
It's like the show Fargo, and you go up to Fargo like
no.
Like knowing a few people from Montana, it's kind of like I feel bad for them, but I kind of like you hear Lauren grab about it all the time. She's like, oh my god, like my little town has turned into this like tourist hotspot where there's people walking around taking pictures. There's no parking spots. Real estate's more expensive. Like I feel their pain.
Well, we'll see.
So, okay, so we're gonna go here in just a minute and get ready for people to start showing up for poker.
It is that time.
Getting to be that time. So, anything that y'all want to? Obviously, Gatsby.
Yeah,
the biggest thing coming
Gatsby,
up.
the big one. Obviously, it's our best big closer of the year. It's our favorite event of the year. It's just been an incredible journey from the conception to where we're at now, and just appreciate everybody, past sponsors, current sponsors, and then just looking forward to seeing everybody out there.
Yeah, we've truly we've been blessed to work with some really amazing sponsors and people that, have stuck around from the beginning to now. So that's really cool. And you guys are part of that.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. Technically the next thing is following would be Crawfish in May because we're going to stick to the Kentucky Derby thing, I believe. But may try to figure out something maybe a little bit smaller between Gatsby and that. I don't know. We gotta check calendars and see what we can figure out.
We have lots of ideas. So
there's a lot of ideas. What we do is pure and simple. It's creating, like you said, creating spaces for the charities to receive donations. We also create spaces for people to network.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's the coolest thing in the world. Like, I think it was Xavier had mentioned it when I chatted with him a while back, but poker, it's not a selling place. It's people have legitimately became friends from poker night.
Yeah.
Hey, how's the wife? How's the kid? How's the dog? Like whatever. Right. And that's kind of what what this house is to build and what y'all do with your events. And that's why it's so great that we kind of work together on that.
Yeah. I mean, even just the name, like, Social Octane, it really represents just like the experience, space where it's really not salesy driven. Yeah. It's just, hey, we're not saying that we're going to get people there and you're going to make deals. We're saying that we're going to create a really cool space or work with people that are on the same mindset, then to get them there. And it's up to you still to make, your connections. But over time, you really start to meet people and create long-term friendships. And we've seen it over years, this develop. And it's pretty magical what happens. So.
Yeah, it's great. And this industry is very relationship driven. We're a large industry in some ways and very small in others.
Mm-hmm.
Tailgates.
Yeah,
we have some amazing tailgates coming up. We technically just did our first tailgate, but we will be doing quite a few of the other home game tailgates. So
first tailgate here for the Texans as far as planned and promoted, right? So it was great success. Got there a little bit late, So
we now know. You
lessons
learn.
learned,
You
yeah.
live. You learn.
They'll let you in earlier.
They lie to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a whole city was set up.
I
by
could
the
have
time I
gotten
got
there at 8 a.m. and probably been let in.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. So, but yeah,
But I do have a proposition for you.
Oh,
If I kill a really big alligator and I have someone that's willing to cook that alligator, can we have a party here? A networking party where we eat the alligator?
I'm always down for that.
Okay.
Absolutely. Like, where are you going alligator hunting? Like, did you just come up with this idea?
Somewhere in Louisiana next week.
somewhere in Louisiana.
Okay. Well, I might have to say no since I didn't get the invite to go kill alligators. But no, yeah, I would definitely.
I'm gonna do a picture up with like an alligator hunting Madison.
I want an alligator fry. Okay.
No, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Like I swear, if she fell in the water, the alligator's like, I'm out.
Spit her out.
yeah, no.
All right. So, okay, we got to close off the show. So, hey, everybody, we appreciate it. This was a little scattered. We enjoyed it, as always. Thanks if you watch it, or thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
If you watch. And then we'll be back with another episode.
Hey,
another
Mom,
time.
we made it.
We've got to do poker. Thanks. Bye.